Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
very good. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Vincent.
Yeah.
Okay, very good morning, everyone, distinguished panelists, alumni, and friends of material science and engineering. I'm Benjamin T, and I'm the sort of coordinator for the program today, together with Dr. Vincent Lee, who's the panel host, who will sort of grill the alumni on their careers and hopefully get some insights that they can share with our undergraduates who are in the audience, as well as prospective undergraduates. So for the prospective undergraduates, thank you for joining us today. Hopefully you can learn something new and fun about what material science and engineering is, and hopefully that helps in your decision making for what kind of degree programs you want to join. So I shall begin by first asking a very simple question. I guess, can anybody guess who this person is? For the attendees, feel free to raise your hands if you want to actually answer the question.
I've opened a poll already, so
Okay.
you'll feel free to.
Wait. Okay, so you got to.
So you all don't choose material science because this is
wait,
science.
Visa, we haven't actually started. Yeah. Who
They
is this
started
first?
they started
Who?
the vote
Oh,
already.
did anybody answer the question? Who is this? First of all, do people know who this is? Okay, if you don't know, I'll just tell you the answer right now. It's actually Sundar Pichai, right? The CEO of Google, who is one of the highest paid. In fact, on some years, he's the highest paid CEO in US, right? So the next question I wanted to ask, and that's the poll, is what was his degree, right? Can anybody make a guess what his degree is? Okay, maybe we will have the poll running for maybe about a minute or so. So for the panelists, I don't know if you have ability to answer, but
Yeah, I've allowed them to do that. Yes.
Okay, so we looks like we have we have about 60% voted. Maybe let's just wait maybe another 10 seconds more for the rest who haven't voted. It's a trick question. Okay, so I think we have about 75%. So 3/4 of the audience voted. So I shall give away the answer, right? Turns out that his degree was in metallurgy, right? And metallurgy is actually a branch of material science. So, the world's highest paid CEO is actually a material scientist and an engineer by training. So just a fun fact about MSE I'd like to leave with you today. All right, so I'll just briefly go through a bit about what material science is. I think we are a broad-based multidisciplinary program, right, which combines physics, chemistry, and biology, and really to master materials found in nature and also create new materials and using engineering practices, engineering methods to then process and make them into useful and impactful applications. Of course, the whole idea is we provide sort of a broad training of skill sets and a broad understanding of how the world operates and works so that you can then use that knowledge to whatever career path you like to join, right? And so, in material science, we have a few attributes that I think make us quite attractive, right? First of all, NUS is the top highest in the ranked employer reputation in Asia, right? And also, right, our department has hired many excellent expert faculty members that, we even have a Nobel Prize winner that joined NUS in material science, Professor Kostya Nosolov. And so I think the flexibility and breadth of our program gives you that chance to explore things that you may like and actually choose career paths that may be not typical of an engineer, just like the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, right? And other attributes that we have are sort of close mentorship with the students. We have a high teacher to student ratio, and you get to explore programs from NUS, such as NUS Overseas College, which is only unique to NUS, where you can go to different places for experiencing different cultures and also studying companies. Many of students who go to NOC, for example, end up studying companies. And also last but not least, material science is an ever evolving field, and so there's a lot of research opportunities in material science that allow students who are interested in career in research to actually start getting their hands dirty, right, and by pursuing research projects right from the undergraduate degree program. And there's actually Arushi, one of our panelists, actually I believe, did that and did very well. And so she ended up in Stanford University doing a PhD right now. So I think we designed the program to be highly flexible. I think importantly, we have about over 25% of the curriculum allows you to decide what you want to actually learn more about, right? So there's basic, about 60% are sort of the basic modules. There's a in this new academic year, we have combined with School of Design, right, to actually allow students to take design thinking classes from design school, right, School of Design and Engineering and Environment. So we are able to now even expand further the broad-based skill sets that you can have, right from year 1 and 2. And then in year 3 and 4, you can start to specialize, right? If you love research, you can take a lot of technical modules. If you like more business, you can do management science, right? Apologies, my kid wants to join the fun today. So there's a lot of some of the popular minors and majors include computer science, business management, innovation design, and so on, right? And some of you may be aware of that. If you have questions about these, please ask at the end of this webinar. So, and lastly, I think overall, I think our students do well in their careers. Median salary is on the highest among the engineering disciplines, and we have over 90% employment rate last year, which despite a very challenging COVID environment, right, for employment. So our undergraduates, go to Google, Johnson & Johnson, P&G, ST Engineering, like Jeremy, and even banks like finance, I think like Elizabeth, who's doing business, right? So there's a lot of different career paths that students can take. And we have, I think really good feedback from alumni, right? I think they all like what they did in material science, and they feel that they have prepared them for, a good career, right? So, and I'll just quickly end by saying that MSc degree provides a strong foundation and a breadth of learning for you to explore careers that you may not even realize that you will like with the MSc degree and curriculum, right? So that's sort of a very unique degree program for our undergraduates. So I'd like to hand over the time to Vincent now to introduce the panelists who have kindly agreed to give us a bit of their time on a Saturday morning, right? Fairly early, I would say, for Saturday morning, to share with us their career progress and how they think MSc has helped. All right, Vincent, please.
Okay, so thank you all again for joining us this morning. I am pleased to introduce our speaker for this event. So they are all graduates from our MSc NUS, and they are all here to talk about their experience and career opportunity after MSc studies. So our first speaker is Jeremy. He's currently a principal engineer at ST Engineering and an adjunct assistant prof at NUS. Our second speaker is Vishnu. He's the founder and CEO of Invisigo AI. And our third speaker is Elizabeth. She is the senior business analyst at Accentro. Our fourth speaker is Arushi. She's currently a prospective PhD student at Stanford University. So can we go to the next slide? So today our topic is on the career opportunities for MSc. So basically we will have all of our speakers to talk about these three questions. Okay. So our first question is why did you choose material science as your preferred course? Second is how did material science studies impact your career decisions? And our third question is how can material science be integrated into your career? So with that, let's welcome our first speaker, Jeremy. So Jeremy, please.
Hey everybody. So I think before this, perhaps I would like to share some of materials so that everyone can get a picture. Vincent, I think you might need to allow for.
I've enabled it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Can everyone see the screen over here? Okay, so
Yeah, it's good.
okay, I will begin. So essentially, thank you, Dr. Lee, thank you, Dr. T, and the department for giving me this opportunity to speak again today. Of course, I do lament the current situation that we're in that prevents us from having a physical meetup, but nonetheless, I'm still very grateful for this. So maybe I will just give a bit of a sharing of our company so that everyone can get a better picture. ST Engineering, I believe many of you have already heard of this company. We are a global company with engineers, both in defense, in commercial spaces, spanning more than 100 countries. Now we had this recent restructuring, and our business actually currently spans various sectors of industry, from commercial, defense, even public security. It also has a very large portfolio of technology and engineering innovations, which some of you probably might already have seen. So as a company with a vision to be this global technology, engineering and defense powerhouse, we place emphasis on developing strong technology and engineering core. And in fact, we find various ways in which we collaborate with like-minded individuals and partners to create next-level game-changing solutions. So just something about me, I was from the class of 2012, and I did my FYP with A-Star in Pyrite photovoltaics. Back then, I also did an internship with DSO, National Laboratories. Right after graduation, I joined ST Engineering Land Systems as a thermal spray engineer, specializing in cold gas dynamic spray. That's actually cold spray, basically. It's for both aerospace and automotive repairs. So I very much would like to consider these first 2 years of my career like an apprenticeship, something that I can actually explore and learn a lot amongst various experts and deepen my engineering core. So in 2014, I was given this rare opportunity to take the lead and became this basically saw my foray into various areas in advanced materials. So I was setting up pilot scale plants and was overseeing a few cross-organizational and cross and international projects, all under the same program. In 2017, I actually became the head of the Transparent Systems Laboratory and continued to grow this capability in materials development for multiple applications. Now, sometime after that, actually, I was yet again given this opportunity to experience a very different facet of the organization. And so I moved into the area of strategic planning. My work experience as an engineer basically took a back seat, but I remained pretty much tethered to my team as a technical consultant. And in this period, actually, I was exposed to numerous activities beyond engineering, and I served as staff officer for my president at the Land Systems. 2020, I received my PhD in advanced materials, advanced ceramics, in fact. And currently, I'm serving as a manager in group technology, specializing in IP and tech partnerships. So I think I must say I have grown quite a bit and very grateful to both my company and NUS for a lot of these experiences. In my earlier years, my foundations as an engineer was very quickly established. And it actually, I was in the emerging technologies division. And being in this division, it allows me a lot of exposure into many other areas beyond just ceramics. I believe all of you have already, and in MSc you've studied, these 3 basic branches. I think beyond that, you go very deep into the other areas, and that's where actually my foundation is formed. This is very important. So in answering to that very question about why I chose MSc as a course, it's fundamentally because MSc is it's interdisciplinary. It's a course of study. It kind of, to me, it traverses this plane between the foundational sciences and applied engineering. So it allows me to keep my eye on practical engineering, product development, while having a very good being very grounded in natural sciences. Now, it's essentially with this foundation in materials engineering that I started my career journey. But of course, my work as a program chief engineer in the development of transparent materials, it kind of leverages skills within MSE, and also along this actually allowed me to hone my skills in many other areas, basically augmenting that capability. So even then, even today, I continue to venture into many different areas beyond my core expertise, diving into areas such as like machine learning, artificial intelligence, to help improve that value proposition of a materials engineer in the organization. You can see over here, these are some of the products that we've developed under my team. And you can see I've gone beyond, we're talking about things like materials characterization, and then you take it one step further, these are the things that we're doing. So because basically in defense, I did ballistics testing, and these are the materials that we played with. So it's very interesting to see how the materials that you've played with, you learned, studied back in uni, really takes out into a world, real world applications, things like that, and really turn it into products. Because my work with various institutions, even in those early years, saw growth in areas of technology, management, and partnership. And this covered IP management. And having been in strategic planning for 3 years and beyond, it allowed me to gain access to a whole new different set of skills, as you can see. So in contract law, strategic financing, business continuity measures, and actually moving that further, it also, in recent years, I was given the opportunities to look into things like mergers and acquisitions, and from that also to study valuation. So my work with MSc Engineering allowed me to have the opportunity to travel quite a bit, at least until the pandemic hit. So these are some of the places that I've managed to travel to. The experiences actually helped sharpen my sensitivities towards culture, different cultures, different aspects, and working with these overseas counterparts allowed me to grow in many ways. And some of them actually even became my lifelong friends, and it really broadened my horizons. Now, so in kind of answering the two other questions that is coming together, what has NUS MSc specifically taught me? And that's actually very important for me. This is a quote I got from a display in the Hall of Crystals at the British Museum of Natural History in one of my trips. And I mean, so that we find a crystal or poppy beautiful means that we are less alone and we are more deeply inserted into existence than the cause of single life will lead us to be. I think this is what MSc at NUS has taught me. It's taught me not just the science, not just the technology, not just books, and it's more rather this kind of philosophical understanding that we are not really alone, that we are all part of this very big scheme of things. And I mean, look at how much a lot of this actually come full circle for me. I would have never have imagined myself returning in other just 10 years, giving back to my alma mater, although I mean, albeit through a jump position, and also talking with all of you here today. So there are far too many people that have supported and guided me on my path, and in one way or another, we all seem essentially, pretty much very connected to one another. I take, for instance, these two seniors over here. They graduated from MSc, in fact, and they are very accomplished scientists at DSO National Laboratories. I was Seok Kim's intern when I was an undergraduate, and her achievements in the field of material science has earned her accolades and recognition from various agencies across the country. Now, Seok Kim never fails to give back to her alma mater. And here are some of the pictures of her giving, alumni talks back then as well. So, in fact, Seok Kim's work inspired me to pursue a PhD in advanced ceramics. And to this very day, Seok Kim, Ernest, and I have remained as very good friends. My PhD journey itself also was filled with ups and downs, but there was one thing that I really appreciate that I know that essentially I was never alone. The support from so many people, professors, teaching, even our administrative staff, even after so many years, they have proven to me that help is always never too far away. And pardon this Harry Potter pun, but it's always given to those who ask for it. So these are my peers who have worked with me for all the many years since I started, my journey. And they've always been strong pillars in my development. I've never doubted their abilities to carry me whenever I'm down. And there are also people that I know I can count on whenever the going gets tough. My relationship with NUS and MSc has never quite stopped, when I graduated in 2012. In fact, we have had numerous engagements, and you can see over here, we've even traveled together. In these pictures, you can see, in fact, actually, Dr. Vincent Lee himself was my classmate in MSc. You can see over here, we've traveled together to Zhejiang.
That's a wonderful memory, man.
Yeah.
Can you send me the photo again? I think I've.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's really good experience.
Yeah. So there's, you can see Prof Ding, there's Prof Zhong Wang, there's even like even Prof Xue. And on the top left picture over there is just a picture of Prof Xue and Prof Xue, Dr. Lee and I sneaking off to doing some sightseeing. Yeah, midday. So it was so you can see that, yeah.
It's supposed to be a secret, man.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah. So you can see, the kind of relationship that I've had, at least this, this relationship I have with NUS MSc, even, all the way in the industry, it's never stopped. And, do take note that, these pictures, or rather these trips that I've gone for, I've gone in my capacity as an industry partner, not as an alumnus, not as a student of MSc, but it's that kind of connectivity that extends even beyond your graduation. Now, this is one very special person that I also would like to thank. I have a lot to thank for. I mean, they say in Chinese, 一日为师，终身为父. So a day as a teacher, a lifetime as a father. Prof Wang has always been there in various aspects of my growth and development. And I really consider myself very lucky to have been able to be under him as my PhD mentor. So you can see, yeah, even through many years, we were lucky enough, back in 2020, just before COVID hit, we could, have the air show, and that was Prof right at the air show with me. So, of course, the journey of, passing this torch from year to year, is from senior to junior, taking care of one another. I think it's just something that I find most valuable for my experience in US. So even when, a lot of us go out into the industry, we always find many ways to just come back. And that's that kind of benefit that we also get from our seniors back when we were students. So just some concluding thoughts on all this, even when we go into industry. Some basically, ask not what you can receive, what you can really give, because especially for the betterment of others. Because I think that's, in my perspective, where you truly learn to grow in many, many ways, and completely different ways you can ever think of. So yeah, and always just remember that, as your seniors in NUS MSc, will always be there to help you. And yeah, and I wish, any aspirant all the best in this journey, your studies, your careers. Yeah, that's the end of my discussion.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. I think he has triggered a lot of fond memories I had with together with him. So like what Jeremy has said, we did have a very strong bond even after our studies. And of course, I really hope that after Jeremy's talk, you have appreciate like how MSc can really impact let's say the defense sectors, right? Joining ST engineering as a possible career choice. So okay, let's welcome the second speaker, Vishnu. Maybe you can share your experience with us.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for having me. And also thanks Jeremy for sharing that. That's pretty insightful. So yeah, unlike Jeremy, I didn't prepare like a bunch of slides. I'm just going to be talking off my mind and whatever I've experienced over the last few years. So yeah, a little bit more of myself. I'm Vishnu, the founder of Invigilo AI. Invigilo in Latin refers to looking after people. So, or looking after like invigilation. In other words, I mean, as the name suggests, what Invigilo AI does is using AI to enhance safety and operational safety, in fact, in high risk environments like construction sites, mining, oil and gas, chemical plants, etc. So, I mean, you might think like, why am I doing this? It's completely different from material science, but I'll get to that in a bit. So at Invigilo AI, a little bit more into that, we're about 1.5 years old. I started this in February last year, just before the COVID-19 struck the construction industry the most. So you can imagine like the kind of things that I had to do it in order to survive or keep the company alive because nobody was willing to trial our products or they were more concerned about just surviving the economic downturn. um, what we do is place cameras around the construction site, cameras and sensors, analyze the video streams and other forms of data that we collect in a central server or a cloud, and send real-time alerts or notifications whenever a safety hazard or malpractice is detected. So, purpose of this is simple. A worker is not complying to safety, the safety officer gets notified and takes immediate action, therefore preventing an accident. So with this in place, you could potentially save accidents, save lives, and prevent a lot of implications to the contractors even. And recently there have been so much cases of workplace accidents. There have been so many fatalities, injuries. That is a whole new appreciation for technology in this scene. So with that said, we did get a few contracts. In fact, pretty interesting. Our first contract was also from SC Engineering, so quite cool. And we also have been, just closed our first round of investment. So that's something pretty nice as well for us. But yeah, how to get into this? I'll just, go through the questions that I'm supposed to talk about one by one. So why did I choose MSc as my preferred course? Basically, it started off in like secondary school and JC. I was always interested in physics and chemistry and a bit of math. Then when you go to MSc, you realize that actually physics and chemistry forms the foundation of material science. But MSc is not really a form of physics and chem. It's more of like a new subject altogether, but it relies on a lot of the learnings from physics and chemistry. So that's one of the primary reasons I really enjoyed and I really wanted to do material science. In fact, MSc combines everything together to form like this new uh, amalgamation or like this new thing altogether, and you'll see how each thing affects what material science is about. I was always into like nanomaterials, biomolecular substances and biomaterials even back in JC itself. And the whole concept of drug delivery using a nano, cylinder or nanotube. It's something that I was fascinated by. I did a small research study on that in JC. Even my final year project in high school. I'm not sure if you guys know the IB program. I was doing the extended essay, and this was on tensile strength of ice with paper. So back then I was already like, okay, material science is super cool, and I really love the concept of how a material changes according to what the chemical and I mean, how the physical and chemical properties of a material change according to the structure of the material. And yeah, that got me into this whole concept of MSE, and that's how I ended up picking MSE. Of course, like I was contemplating between like a number of choices, like the typical mechanical and aerospace side of things. And at the point of time, computer science wasn't too hot, but I was into it as well because I loved logical pattern recognition and a lot of math. But yeah, I chose MSc at the end of the day, and I'm pretty happy with the choice. Um, I think MSc, over the course of the MSc program itself, it gave me a lot of systematic and logical thinking processes, like the scientific method, which is of course not unique to MSc, but in MSc you can actually see the application of it because you do so many experiments and so much research that you need to really stick to the scientific process, and that is very important in not just in the university but beyond university, even in my career right now. Although I'm doing like something completely different, entrepreneurship, and but having this step-by-step process and a logical thinking to solving problems and a very systematic way of writing down things. In an experiment, you have control variables and the different types of variables. Bring that to like entrepreneurship. What are the things that you can control of, and what are things that you're not in control of? So there's a lot of overlaps that you can bring forward. Another thing I would like to point out is that during the course of the program, I found out, or I really appreciate the fact that the MSc department is very friendly, and the program is so like willing to accommodate the different needs of the students. So you have a lot of department staff are willing to go out of the way to help you with the journey. And there's not, although there's structure to the program, there's a lot of freedom to move around and explore other things. So, for example, myself, I did MSc, but I spent a major time doing the NOC program, the NUS Overseas Colleges program. I spent 1 year in Silicon Valley, and I also did an innovation design program, the IDP program, which is around like design thinking, etc. And the reason I mentioned these two things is that both these programs, I also did MSc related stuff. So in the NOC program, I did an internship in two companies. First being one that was on electric batteries. So I was a research engineer in an electric battery startup, and I was literally building coin cells or coin batteries, the small coin ones, over the whole 6 months, my first 6 months. And you could really see how what you learn theoretically in MSE and NUS MSE, and see how it's applicable or applicable to a lab setting or a startup setting. Of course, there's a lot of there's some differences. You can't really take what is in theory to practical, but you can take the concepts and the process. My second internship was actually on surface modification of air conditioning systems. So this is a chemical process done to like air conditioning coils to prevent corrosion or reduce corrosion and increase operational efficiency of aircon systems. That was another whole interesting experience. Not only did I learn MSE related stuff, but also other elements that involve like computer science and mechanical engineering, as I was supposed to do data analytics of the experimental results. In IDP Innovation Design Program, being part of MSc allowed me to choose a project that I was very keen on. We actually built our very own 3D printer that was used to print out composite materials. So although it's a lot of electrical engineering and hardware stuff, you still have elements of material science where after printing out the composite material, I was then able to utilize equipment and lab apparatus in MSE labs to test things like tensile strength, flexural strength of the composite material, and compare it to like existing composite materials to see what is like the performance and stuff. Yeah, I think all in all, like the MSc program in general was very free and easy. I was able to explore various modules, and if I was doing something more rigid, perhaps like chemical engineering or computer science, I'm not too sure about it now, but I feel that I wouldn't have the ability to explore a lot more of my passions and interests. Furthermore, like I did modules on solar cells, electric batteries as well, and these are all like latest cutting edge technology that is being developed as we speak right now. And the thing is, the modules are continuously revised. So when I was actually taking the solar cells module with Dr. Tan, I actually realized that a lot of his content was very up to date and very relevant to what's going on right now. So it was pretty fun. How can MSc be integrated in my career? So that's actually an interesting question because I'm one of the few, I don't know, but doing entrepreneurship and having my own company. In fact, after MSc, I worked in a venture capital for about 4 to 5 months. It was a venture capital dealing with medical hardware, and a majority of the medical hardware startups were biomaterials and biomolecular related stuff. So I think that by the very fact that I didn't do a specialization, but I did a lot of modules related to biomaterials in my undergrad years. I actually managed to land the job, and I was applying a lot of my knowledge to do technical and research due diligence on some of the portfolio companies and applying companies to this VC. And on top of this, I forgot to mention, I was very into doing a PhD as well in year three and year two university. So because of MSc and the profs being so accommodating, I actually managed to work for four professors, and I managed to co-author four research papers along my undergrad years. So as a MSc student, I think it's very cool that you can actually just reach out to any professor, ask them like, oh, do you need help with a paper? Do you need help with labs? Sort of experiments, and they're just open to take you in, and you can explore like research area for yourself. And after doing four of them, I realized like, okay, maybe research may not be the best option for me because I really love talking to people and I really love hardware and applying stuff. So that was when I decided to move into entrepreneurship. Then, like I said, I went to a VC firm. I was doing a business analyst role for them. A business analyst role is different from company to company. And since it was a medical VC company, I was actually into like biomaterials, biomedical stuff. So after the medical VC, I worked there for 4 months. I decided to move on to my current startup. And at this point of time, there is no direct theoretical applications from MSE to, like the actual content wise. But I would say like the whole mindset, the whole thinking process, the thought process, how to manage multiple things. Even in entrepreneurship, as we develop new ideas and try to develop new products, the concept of research in MSc comes back to me. The way how you read research papers, how you break down uh, like a content into a understandable bytes, and how you convey this and communicate this to a non-technical audience is something that I do on a daily basis. I feel that um, MSc being such a theoretical intensive thing at some aspects and having to do a lot of presentations in the main modules as well as my NOC program taught me the ability to actually communicate very technical and intensive subjects and content to a non-technical audience that is whom I deal with on a daily basis for my current construction technology startup. Apart from this, I'm still very in connections with a lot of professors in MSc, Dr. Tan Swee Ching, and I worked with him a lot of times. Apart from this, Prof. Chu, I in fact email Prof. Chu occasionally. And yeah, they're great people. They advise me on certain things. And I realized that even in the startup community, which I'm part of, there are a number of material science startups. In fact, uh, Prof. Benjamin T is a great example of how you can use MSc and convert your knowledge of MSc into something which can be applied in an entrepreneurial sense. I think Prof. Ben is doing a lot of great work, and it's amazing to see how someone from an MSc background is able to convert MSc research into that. That's something I really wanted to do. Just so happened that it wouldn't be with MSc, but it would be something else. But I'm able to still apply many of the engineering and science concepts into the business world. And I feel that over the course of MSE, it's very important to talk to people. It's very important to find from your seniors what they're doing and how you can carve your own path along your journey. Because us seniors have gone through a lot of things and have spoken to our seniors, and we kind of like have a much better understanding of the whole ecosystem and the whole path forward. And we can direct you to people, direct you to places, and direct you to things that you can potentially do with your MSc degree. I think a lot of final year students get overwhelmed by the fact that, oh, I do MSc, I can only end up in certain companies, certain places. But actually, I think this panel itself is an example of that not being the case. Of course, there might be a majority of you who go to a certain place, but there's always room for exploration, and there's always room or places where who appreciate what MSE and material science and engineering brings to the table. It's not just materials research; it's a lot more than just that. And yeah, I think I would like to end off a quote or something which Walt Disney said: "Dare to dream and achieve those dreams." So I think MSc equips you with skills and dream with those skills and uh, push forward to achieve those dreams. Because if you don't dream and you don't try for it, like it's no one is going to do it for you. So yeah, I think that's about it. You can always reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn, or my email is vishnu@invigilo.sg. So you can just drop me an email if you need more input or just someone to talk to. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Vishnu. That's a very strong commitment, because if you give your email to our students, probably they will come look for you.
Yeah,
All right.
fine,
So
fine.
thanks for your speech. I think Vishnu has done a really good speech, I guess, because it really connects how material science can be related to other areas, not only pertaining to engineering, could be AI, materials, and whatnot. So definitely there are a lot of opportunities for our students to go to, not only limited to engineering. Okay, so of course, we will welcome our third speaker, Elizabeth. She's a senior business analyst. So it actually shows that material science is not only restricted to like AI technologies. Okay, it could be some like business analyst, right? Analytic skills, right? I guess. So
Yeah.
let's welcome Elizabeth. Thanks.
Hi everyone. Nice to be here with you today on this Saturday. Maybe I'll give a short introduction about myself first. So like everyone has mentioned, I'm now a business analyst at Accenture. So it's actually a IT consulting firm based in the US. And we help clients solve like critical challenges or any business problems that they have, mostly by implementing technologies or softwares. But also we can do things like HR overhaul, organization restructuring, and so on. So all these are like in a category called professional services. So a little bit about what I've been doing since I graduated. So I graduated in 2018, and since then I've worked on various projects. So my first ever project was a design thinking project. So what we did was we kind of facilitated workshops with clients, and this particular project was in Bangkok. So within the first 2 weeks of me onboarding to the firm, I was flown to Bangkok and left there to fend for myself, right? So the thing is, it was very interesting because the workshop were all conducted in Thai, and I was there like clicking the slides and the presenter will be talking in Thai, right? And he'll be like speaking Thai, Elizabeth, next slide, you shout at me. So yeah, that was a very funny experience. And then since then, apart from the design thinking, I've worked on project management for about 2 years in a financial firm. So this is probably an investment firm that everyone is familiar with, but I cannot say the client's name. So since then, it's been nice to help out with MSE and teach or help out our fellow juniors with their career paths and so on. So maybe on to the questions. So the first one was, why did I choose MSE as my preferred course? So of its firstly high medium salary. So I'll be real here, because of the high salary that most of the students who graduate get. And also another thing, I was kind of really balancing between the content that we'll be learning and as well as what could potentially be out there for me, like job opportunities when I graduated. So maybe first I'll touch on the multidisciplinary aspect of the curriculum. It was very nice to see on the website that they have consistently high global rankings over many years, right? And even though it's a kind of young course, to have achieved such high rankings like from the very beginning was a really big achievement to me. And I really believe like to create great things, right, you need to and to add value to the world, right, you need to learn more about the basics of maybe engineering, math, science, and then this course seemed to really bring it all together. So I felt that taking this MSc would provide me with a great learning experience with all the subjects that it had to offer. And another aspect that really attracted me was that during the kind of introductory call that they had, it wasn't a call, it was in person last time, right? So they were saying that this is a small course on purpose. So because of the budget that they have, right, to be able to have such a small course meant that each student would have a larger portion of the budget allocated to them. And this would mean that, you know, with the certain number of professors that they had, each student will get ample opportunity, attention, even budget, right, money to do whatever you want to do. And it was really nice because the department, they themselves are very flexible and very open to anything you want to try. Also because this is a new field in science, right? These professors are also willing to like bend with the wind, whatever you want to do, whatever idea you want to throw out there, they are willing to help you and support you with their experience and provide you with any budget. Okay, so this really appealed to me because even though it was a small cohort, it also meant that the people who came out of this course would have better quality, if I may say so, to employers, right? It's a better quality employees for them. And during the onboarding call itself, it was there was this very interesting quote, which I'm not sure if many of you have heard of, but it was "where substance matters." So this was kind of like a triple pun to me. And when I heard it, I was just like, what? These people are so witty. So yeah, this really got me laughing. And then this course really just stuck in my head when I was applying for the course. Yeah. So maybe moving on to the second question. So how did studying MSc impact my career decision? So throughout taking this 4 years of undergraduate studies, right, there was many different experiences that they had provided me with. So apart from the theoretical foundational modules that we had in like math, chemistry, physics, we also had things that specialized in material science and engineering itself. So material science and engineering are probably two different portions, right? Material science is the more theoretical part. Engineering is where you learn to apply it to real life. Like, for example, what Vishnu mentioned was like experimental, lab stuff where you test like tensile strength and I don't really remember now, but yes, those aspects of materials, right? So yeah, it was very interesting. And then they had specializations in biomaterials, nanomaterials, like all these things. When you go out into the world and talk about these with people, right? They're like, whoa, you know all that? Yeah, you know, it's a really good conversation starter. Also, other things that we did apart from the theoretical and the lab work, we also have industrial attachment. It's an internship where you go out and work with maybe MSc related companies, and they try to find opportunities that are related to MSc for you, even though it's a relatively new field. So for example, there is Micron, the semiconductor industry. You've probably heard of this very popular company. There are other semiconductor industries out there, Global Foundries and so on. And there's also like ST Engineering, like Jeremy's from, and yeah, it's just so interesting. There were opportunities during my time. It was at Rolls-Royce for a supply chain role. So I also applied for that, but I chose Micron in the end. And yeah, so if you have any questions on all these topics, you can also come find me. You can reach me on LinkedIn. Maybe we'll share our emails next time. Other things were like product design and 3D printing aspects. So this was so interesting to me because you get to really see how your designs come to life. The product design course itself was something we did, I think, in our 3rd or 4th year. And we created an assistive wearing device for old people with arthritis, people who can't really move, right? And yeah, we really brought that to life. And our prof was so supportive. He was like, oh, this is a great product. Would you try to file it for patent? And we didn't even have confidence in our own product to do such a thing. But the fact that he said that really gave us like support and confidence that, you know, we took all this theoretical stuff from MSc that we learned in the first few years and applied it to really create a product. Yeah. So this really made me realize that I have a passion for the process of creating solutions to problems using like technology or any knowledge that I might have, right? And that's how I ended up in my current company. And the third question, because I realized over time, how can MSc be integrated in your career? So for me, myself, I believe that going through the education system isn't really about what you are learning, but how you are learning. So there are several skills that you can pick up throughout all these courses, right, that you can apply to anywhere, any industry, any job role that you might want to do. So for example, from this panel, right, it's really a very broad range of people who have come out of MSc. And I think one of the few basic stuff that you should focus on during your time here, if you're coming on board, is like soft skills. Like communication wise, you should learn how to you will learn how to present complex topics to laymen people. Like it's not something like you want to confuse or brag about your scientific knowledge and all that, but it's something like you want to learn how to communicate and educate people who don't know anything about a certain topic. And that is something really key in the working world. You will be presenting to like board members or like team members who don't know anything, but you have that knowledge and you have to bring it across to them. So that is something, it can come across in like written or presentation forms, but yeah, that's basic like communication. And then design. So the theoretical aspect of material science, right, really brings you a great foundation in learning how to design stuff, even creating products and all that, right? All this logical thinking, how you design your product, how maybe pain points of the people who are suffering from this problem, all these focusing on human design, human experience during the product design really brings you to that level of empathy that people should take into account when they're learning or creating new products. So this is something we call design thinking. And I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't taught to us like saying, oh, this is design thinking and this is how you design for the human experience. But it was just something very logical to us, right? And then when I graduated and went into the working world, and they were like, oh, this is how we solve problems creatively. We use design thinking. Now I was like, oh, but it's just logic, right? You just need to find the pain points, then find the solution to the problem, and so on and so forth. Then I was just like, oh, business is quite fluffy. They just use design thinking and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, other things like time management. So we have a lot of projects to do like that, or lab reports. We have assignments and all that. So it's a little bit of time management that you learn during this course as well. And then technical skills. So when you're doing like research during your FYP, even doing all your lab work, right, gathering data, learning new concepts, then linking them together. These are all like very crucial, this experimental and scientific inquiry, this process, right, is something that is very helpful to you as you go out into the working world. You write down things more logically, more structured thinking. And when you present them to like your leaders and stuff, they can see that you really like took into account all other conditions and, you know, like ceteris paribus, all else equal, whatever. These are the conditions that define this experiment. These are the results, and they can like really trust your results, and you know how to communicate it to them. Yeah. Okay. So I think this logical thought process and flow, and even like the hands-on approach of MSE, right, is something that will be well appreciated anywhere in the working world. Yeah. Okay. So that's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. So again, very strong commitment from you to invite our audience to contact you.
You can find me on
right.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I really appreciate the fact that Elizabeth mentioned that you do need to learn all the soft skills, not only the knowledge, right? Just soft skills like presentation. How do you analyze the data? What's not? So these skills are very important in addition to material science knowledge in your future career options. Okay, so I really appreciate that. Let's welcome our fourth speaker, our last speaker. Arushi, I think she just graduated, so I think all the characterization techniques are still fresh in your mind, I guess. Right, so can we ask Arushi to maybe speak? Thanks.
Yeah, so like Vincent said, I just graduated in January, so I don't really have a really long biography to tell about myself, about my after NUS experiences. But while I was in NUS and in MSc, I tried out just a bunch of different things because of the flexibility of the course. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. But basically, I graduated in January. I did a double degree in MSc and in physics. And now I'm going to be starting my PhD in the fall. So that's basic background. And I chose MSc as my preferred course back in 2016. And at the time, I don't think I had such a great idea about like what I would do in the future. I didn't think too much about industries like Elizabeth did, but I did like that it was multidisciplinary. I liked the flexibility that it had, and I liked the research they were doing. So at that time, we could meet in person, and they used to have these showcases and fairs. So I remember there was one in Vivo City, and they were talking about like nitrogen vacancies in diamonds. And they were talking about, I think, 2D materials and graphene. And I just thought all of it sounded so science fiction and incredible. So I think that really influenced my decision to take MSc. And the idea that I could actually combine MSc with physics, or when I was admitted, I was actually admitted to combine it with economics. And the idea that you could mix these various different things and create your own unique path in the world was something that was very compelling to me. And so MSc impacted my career decision just because it gave me this really great opportunity to explore a lot of different kinds of things. So obviously research, I got the chance to participate in like the undergraduate research opportunities program and obviously your thesis project. And they're both really great avenues to try out research if you like it. And I would, even if you're not sure you like it, you should try it out just because it gives you a really good perspective on soft skills and also on communicating effectively and also on figuring out whether something new might be interesting to you. So I would definitely say that's a good option. But apart from that, I also think that there's a lot of opportunities that MSc gives because the coursework is relatively, like the required coursework is relatively limited. So you have a lot of chance to explore with your electives. And you also have the chance to do things like participate in all of these competitions that are organized. There's like case challenges for business. There's competitions for prototyping where you can work on different kinds of projects. I worked a part-time job for 2 years during my course in education research, just because MSc gave me that flexibility to have that time and space outside coursework to actually explore my interests. And I think another big and really important facet was that in MSc, people are going on to do very different kinds of things. People have very different interests, and that gives you the opportunity to talk to a lot of different kinds of people, and it gives you better perspective on how to communicate, but also gives you a better idea of your actual interests rather than just doing what everyone else does. And finally, for me, MSc is really directly integrated into my career because I will be researching in condensed matter physics. So that's materials physics research, and it'll follow kind of directly from the kinds of things I looked at in my UROPS and in my thesis project. But I felt MSc prepared me really well for that because the MSc department at NUS, they give you these requirements for when you do term papers to do presentations, to defend your ideas. And I think that that is a really important skill that you should focus on getting the benefits from. And there's also a very low, I think, resource to student ratio. A high resource to student ratio. So basically, as a student, you have so many opportunities because there is a small cohort. And so I've never had an experience where I've wanted to try something and people have not been helpful. Anytime I've asked, I've been given mentorship, I've been given resources. And that kind of flexibility is really invaluable. And so that's basically a summation of my perspective on MSc. But I would also be happy to be approached on LinkedIn, or you can email me. It's just my name with like a full stop in the middle at u.nus.edu. Still active.
Okay, great. Thanks, Arishi. I think that's wonderful. Like, okay, I think we have a few questions, I think, from the audience. Do feel free to answer them. So we can basically mention all these questions if you want. I think there's this question. During your time in NUS, was physics a major part of the course? So anyone can answer this, okay? So will I be at a disadvantage if I did not take physics in JC? What do you all think? Do you see the question? Wait, can you hear me? Can I don't want to look foolish.
Maybe I can say something about
Yeah,
this.
please.
So yeah, I think it's not a major disadvantage at all because physics is, I mean, the physics involved in MSE is not as intense as what you may think it is. It's a lot more. Of course, there's elements of physics involved, but it's not a. Depending on what direction or track you're going to be taking in MSE, the degree of importance that's given to physics varies. So that being said, all of the physics, like I mentioned earlier on in my, presentation, they take a bit of physics, a bit of chem, a bit of math, combining it together from material science. Not really physics being intensive or chem being intensive. Physical properties, you might use a bit more physics. Chemical properties is a bit more chemistry. So, but the thing is, the concept is all the same. The foundation is all the same, and you don't need a very in-depth understanding of physics. Of course, it's relevant, but I do not believe that you'll be at a disadvantage. And every single MSc student has to take a compulsory physics module, if I'm not wrong, which allows you to kind of get the basic understandings that is required to understand material science. Yep.
So we also have Professor Daniel Blackwood here, who's also in charge of curriculum. Dan has also mentioned something about the physics. Dan, you want to say something?
I know I'm mic'd, right?
Yeah, your mic is on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't have physics, they will provide a bridging course for you, so you can catch up, and you'll use that course to count towards your UEM. You have a certain number of modules which you can take anything for, so you don't have to take extra modules. And it used to be if you didn't have A-level physics, you had to take 2 bridging modules. But as of this August, they cut it down to 1. They make it a combined one. So you actually will only have to do 1 bridging module if you don't have A-level physics. If you're not that keen on physics, then as you go through and take your electives, you can do more the polymer side and the chemistry side. My own background's chemistry, so I prefer the chemistry side of materials. There's other members of staff who very much prefer the physics side. So you're not really at a major disadvantage.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
So is there any other panelists who likes to comment on this? If not, we will move to the second question. All right. So based on the popular vote, the second question is, how important is it to source for internship outside of industrial attachment? Okay. Do employees look heavily at past experiences? So I need to switch off my mic because someone is doing renovation here.
Maybe I can share a bit about my own job searching experience. For me, right, the only internship that I did during my undergraduate years was during the allocated industrial attachment portion of the curriculum. So even though it was allocated like a 6-month internship, I had started earlier by a month and I extended by another month. So I did an 8-month internship. So that really gave me more time to immerse into the company culture and learn more things during my internship than I would have otherwise learned in only 6 months. So I do think that it is important to source for internships. But if you can't, get any, or you don't have the time to, don't worry so much. Also, it's maybe also about your own goals. Like maybe by that time, if you realize like you really want to try out something, it's also a good idea to do your internship in that area so you can figure out, for yourself before you graduate whether it's something you really want to do. But otherwise, when you just graduate, right? Employees do take your past experience into account, but it's not a lot. Like they understand that you are just a fresh grad, and they are willing to give you opportunities depending on the employer and what they're looking for. But yeah, it isn't really a big factor. So I think the industrial attachment itself is quite enough.
I would say so. I mean, because I personally didn't apply for jobs, I did do internships, but most of my cohort graduated in sort of this COVID economy. So definitely internships are important. And I think especially if you have your summers free, that's a really great opportunity to try out internships or try to do things that might interest you. If nothing else, it gives you a really good perspective on what you actually like and what you're passionate about. But it's also, even if it's not in the same area as what you end up working in, it's important to go out and talk to people and figure out what kind of market is out there, what you're interested in, and what kind of skills you want to develop later on, even through coursework or electives.
So
Okay.
think I'll try to just link this question up with another question that probably I'm expected to answer regarding the roles available at ST Engineering. I'll sync up these questions in a bit. So I think the part about internships, I think personally it's for me at least in terms of my experience, it was quite a defining thing for me. I did my internship with DSO and in a relevant project. It so happened that thereafter I just onboarded to ST Engineering on a similar project as well. So it was just kind of lucky for me, I guess, that it just transited that way. But nonetheless, I've taken in, interns, I've taken in FYP students. And all I can say is that, when we interview interns, any aspirant, we're honestly not looking at your capability, in some ways yes, but not exactly in terms of your experience. We know you haven't got exactly any experience to boast, and anything you would want to put up as your so-called experience is mostly probably embellished. So we're not going to expect that from you anyway. So what we actually expect will be the kind of verve, what you really want to get out of it. So we at ST Engineering, we take an intern, it's more rather to provide this opportunity to learn something deeper, to at the same time to also suss out, potential in employment, just get a feel of, whether or not this person potentially, it's a good fit, it's a potential talent we can groom. And that's what we look at in terms of, for an intern. And taking that one step further into an FYP is also possible. And that's what we also look into. So, if a certain project that we offer up during an internship was, had this potential of, extending much further into an FYP because it's a year long, we'll be very much happy to put it up. And then, thereafter that extends potentially into an employment career. So that is what we offer. Regarding roles available at ST Engineering, so that is one option. When you come through as an intern working on a relevant project, and then you take it up one step further, and it can be in any field. We are not restricted to saying that an MSc student needs to only do MSc related projects. You can very well be working on a battery, an electric vehicle, autonomous vehicle. It just depends on your relevant skill sets. It really is not limited to anything. Even design, right? You can be doing a design project over here and you can take it one step further from there. So therefore, roles available at ST Engineering that is relevant to MSc is actually quite broad. You starting all the way from things that are potentially not exactly relevant to this area, like supply chain management, procurement, and all the way down to deep analysis, finite element, design projects. There are areas where we have got deep specialists like metallurgists that are working on corrosion projects, working on, like me. Okay, so I started in thermal spray. So I was doing repair engineering. Then I moved on into ballistics. So I was a ballistics engineer. So we are doing many things and they all come in different forms. And in relation to my skill sets as a ballistics engineer, if you ask me how much of it is MSc, yes, there is a percentage of which, but how much of it is also mechanical? How much of it is actually in terms of anything else beyond just MSc? It's broad, but there is a base, but beyond which none of the other courses are also able to teach. None, I don't believe, exactly something that is, that is required in the job can be taught by any of the faculties, any of the departments, completely. So we don't expect that. What we expect is actually just, that passion for the job. Yeah, I hope that answers some of the questions regarding roles available as well as whether or not we do look at past experiences and internships.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. I think that's wonderful. So I think most job, right, eventually you still have to learn during the job itself. So it's really hard sometimes to extrapolate the MSc knowledge into sometimes, right? So let's go to.
There's one more question. I don't know if
Sorry.
if Jeremy have an answer. What roles are available at ST Engineering for MSc grads?
So yeah, I mentioned
Yeah.
so yes, a lot of roles. That's really a lot of roles.
Yeah.
Like I said, so you've got roles. I believe especially the parts that are related to supply chain management, parts that are related to modeling and simulation. So say for instance, you have your base skills as a materials engineer. Then we top up, with FEMA training, we top up with FEA. Then that's where you start to grow your skill sets as a modeling and simulation engineer. Then we have a very special area within our design houses, working on failure analysis. So we're talking about failure. So failure analysis engineers are very special. They look at a multitude of problems related to a particular part failure, and most of these failures typically, in an engineering system, occur catastrophically. And the question is just to figure out why that happened. And at the end of the day, it could be corrosion related. It could be overload conditions. So a failure engineer looks at both the materials part of it and the mechanical part of it, and just meld it all together. And so further to that, there are actually other specialist core within ST engineering related to testing. So I've got testing engineers that are essentially doing everything that you have learned in MSc, but going beyond that because it's an industrial scale. So we've got huge systems and things like that. And so on and so forth. Some of our materials specialists in ST engineering even move on to become experts, technical experts, to even weigh in on even court cases, even on cases of failure where you require a technical expert to weigh in on a particular failure. They do it. So we've got quite a lot of these very interesting specialist roles. Then we have also got generalist roles where you can start to develop. I was a bit of half and half. I started off with a specialist role in ballistics, in thermal spray. Then slowly, as I rotated, as part of my rotation scheme, I ended up doing strategic planning. And strategic planning isn't something that you expect of a fresh grad. So it takes a few years before you go into a strategic planning, and then you move from there. So it just moves, you have a lot of opportunities beyond which. Don't just limit yourself to saying that as a materials engineer, you're only limited to this particular area. That base that you start off with does not lead necessarily into this one particular, it doesn't hive you off in this one area. You start off here, you end up somewhere where everyone else just converge at some point in time as well. So don't worry so much about whether or not there's any limitation. In fact, actually, there's not much of a limitation, even with a materials engineering specialization. In fact, there are some areas where only materials engineers can enter, and period. Yeah, so think of it that way as well.
Okay, thank you. I think those who are interested in ST engineering, definitely please. I'm not sure whether Jeremy is willing to share his email address or linking. So if you feel that you're interested in ST engineering, you want to know what's the potential jobs available in ST engineering, you can perhaps look for Jeremy, or you can consult us first before we approach him. Right. So I think we want to keep the whole seminar short. So perhaps we are going to answer one or two more questions. So based on the popular votes, okay. Right. Based on the popular votes, now we are going to perhaps answer this question. So what are the challenges that we face or you face during job search? So how early did you send out job application? How many job rejection?
Maybe I'll just answer this in very fast, so if
Okay.
anyone else want to chip in, they can chip in as well.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to summarize a few of the previous questions because I believe that they're quite important as well. And for me, because I'm in a unique position to also hire people and interview people, which I've done for like 6 or 7 guys, 6, 7 people, and I can speak about what do you look for. Do we select based on past experience and stuff, and the whole job search industry. I mean, the whole job search thing. Basically, the more important aspect for any job application is attitude and experience. All the technical skills and things you can learn on the job and you can pick up over time. So just having the right attitude is what we look out for most of the time. And the challenges we face during job search is I started my job search pretty early as well because I wanted to get a job in the US, and getting a material science job in the US is pretty difficult. So I started in like January when I graduated, or December when I started graduated in like July. Singapore, but the challenges really depend on the kind of background you are from. I got rejected by about half the jobs or more than that, which I applied to. Getting even the interview phase like, is also difficult. Of course, with my background in NOC and DCP, design centric program, kind of helped me get more interviews and more jobs. So having like a versatile experience and background might help to land more interviews and jobs. Um, One more thing is I want to answer this question because it's directed at those who ventured out of MSc, and I think Elizabeth as well has some thoughts on this. But I think we feel that it's always there's nothing to stop you from exploring other things because life is just more than the 4 years you spend on a certain course. There's a lot more things apart from this, and of course MSE is going to help, but you don't have to result or end up in MSE. And if you, the only advice I have for these people is just know what you like and go for it because if you like that thing, right, you'll always find ways to go about ending up there. Yeah.
Something I can contribute to this with a quote. So like in agile methodology, right? I'm not sure if maybe some of you will come across this in the future, but it's essentially to try often and fail fast. So what you can do is during your undergraduate years, right, try as many things as possible, right, with whatever time that you have. And you realize whether you like something or not. And hopefully by the time you graduate, you know what to aim for. And that will narrow down the type of companies you're applying to, and you have much more certainty in your future rather than graduate and still, swim around.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, yeah, sorry, the second part of this question was if there's any difficulties faced. Also, like when you find something that you like and it's it might be different from MSE, you have to spend some time like learning the skills required. For me, for example, like data analysis, you probably need to learn like some SQL, you need to learn like Tableau, data visualization, how to data mine, database structures and all those things. So it takes some time to get to that level.
Yeah, fortunately now I think we do have sort of basic course for incoming engineering students, right, to actually do the data analytics, some Python and machine learning. So hopefully that prepares them better also.
That's nice. That's nice.
It's actually very heartening to know that because back in our time there is no the only programming things that we did was C programming, C++ at the very best. So even at where we are at ST Engineering, when we shift, we have got a bunch of like data scientists and engineers alike. But the rest of the engineering core, we are trying to upskill them into analytics. Even some of them go into deep learning. And I myself is also moving in that direction, even though I'm in tech planning. So I think it's very heartening to see also that NUS is actually doing this in preparation for all that. It's all well aligned within the industry, and it's a very good move in that right direction.
One last thing I wanted to add is there's a question on masters and PhD. I think it's a long process. So I mean we don't have time to speak about it now, but I think Arushi and myself have experience in applying. I applied to masters and PhD myself. Did get into a few universities as well in the US. So, but didn't end up taking it up. But feel free to reach out to me and especially Arushi because we have experience in this. Yeah.
You can definitely reach out. The CAP isn't the be all end all. It's good to have a good CAP. The programs have minimum requirements, but if you don't, you can try to make up for that with work experience. You just have to try to demonstrate competence and reasons why they should take you.
Okay, I think I do speak for the department, I guess, because I am somewhat doing the admission for the postgrad. So if you feel that you need to know more about like doing masters or PhDs in material science, do look out for me. My email, I think you all know my email, okay? So I'll just keep the whole thing short. I don't want to really spend the whole afternoon. Saturday afternoon is a beautiful day today. hope it doesn't rain. So it's a beautiful afternoon. I want everyone to go out, have fun, okay, but safety first, because it's we are in phase 2 right now, right? We're back in phase 2. So any questions, do feel free to contact us. Okay, I think you can, I mean, the students can contact me first. So if then I'll contact the panelists if I don't want to overwhelm them, because I know they are very busy with their jobs, right? So if you feel that you all want to talk to them directly, do feel free, let me know. I will talk to them, and if they are willing, then I'll link you all up. Okay. So anything you want to comment, the panelists?
I think just one last concluding remark regarding,
Okay.
regarding postgrad. Just wanted to point out that there's also the Doctor of Engineering that you can consider, and not to mention the fact that there is IPP that you can also consider. Industry strongly values IPP, the Industrial Postgraduate Program. If for those of you who feel that you're worried that whatever you are doing in your PhD may not be relevant to industry, why not take up something that is industry oriented? So my PhD was in an IPP, and I was doing my PhD in ballistics, in material science. That was a interesting area. So do consider that as well. So yeah.
Okay, great. So I think, and thank you all for attending this seminar. I think we really have a very good sharing session, and we learned a lot from all of you guys. So thank you all. So
wish you all the best in your careers.
All the best. I hope to see you all again.
That's right. And I think Lizu
3 months later,
one of the highest paid CEO. Seems like she did material science and then did consulting, which is exactly following Sundar Pichai's footsteps.
Okay, great. So Ben, you got anything you want to
No, that's great. Thank you so much for attending, and look forward to seeing all of you.
Do you have anything you want to say?
No, although I did see one comment. They asked how many rejection letters you got. I've had a lot over the years. When I was an undergrad, mainly I did a PhD because it was a recession at the time and there were no jobs, so do a PhD. And you used to, in the UK, there's first and second class stamps. If your reply was a second class stamp with a brown envelope, that's a rejection. If it was a white envelope with a first class stamp, that was an interview.
Yeah,
but don't worry that you get rejection. It's just something you just keep trying. You will get rejection letters.
This is part of the learning process. I mean, everyone has to go through this anyway to be mature.
Probably for my own place to get positions, networking is actually as important as your degree.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your interview skills.
That's right. And now we already have this panel part of your network now.
Yeah.
Right. So look them up in LinkedIn. Join them. Okay. So I think if nothing else, I really want to keep it short. Nothing else, then we just call it a day. Great. Okay, thank you. So those students who still have questions, feel free to post it to me. Then I'll just link you up with the respective people. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. See you all. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.